heart of the Visayas, in a small, quiet town where life moved at a gentle pace, lived a woman named Maria. She was known by all for her kindness, her radiant smile, and the immense love she had for her family. Maria was married to a devoted police officer named Ermin, and together they were raising two beautiful young children. Their home was a happy one, filled with laughter and warmth. But times were tough, and providing the best for their children weighed heavily on their minds. To secure a better future for her family, Maria made the difficult decision to work abroad. She found a job as a caregiver for an elderly man. It was a bittersweet departure. Leaving Ermin and her children was heartbreaking, but the promise of a better life for them gave her strength. She promised to write, to call, and to return as soon as she had saved enough. When Maria arrived at her new job, she was met with a strange and unsettling atmosphere. The old man she was hired to care for was frail and bedridden, but there was something unnerving about him. His eyes held a dark, ancient secret, and the house itself felt cold and unwelcoming, shrouded in an almost palpable silence. Despite her unease, Maria was a professional. She tended to the old man with diligence and compassion, feeding him, bathing him, and keeping him company through the long, quiet days. As weeks turned into months, Maria noticed the old man's health seemed to improve in an unnatural way, while her own began to decline. She felt a growing weakness, a persistent, gnawing emptiness inside her that no amount of food could satisfy. She began to have strange dreams, visions of moonless nights and the thrill of the hunt. The old man would often watch her with a knowing, sinister smile. One day, as Maria was feeding him, the old man coughed violently. It was a deep, guttural sound that racked his frail body. He coughed up a thick, black substance like a clot of congealed blood, which landed directly into the bowl of soup Maria was holding. Before she could react, he insisted she eat it. He claimed it was a part of him, a gift, a way of passing on his life force. Terrified and bewildered, but feeling an inexplicable compulsion, Maria consumed the soup. In that moment, everything changed. A dark energy surged through her veins. The weakness she had felt for months vanished, replaced by a horrifying new strength and an insatiable hunger. The old man, his purpose fulfilled, passed away peacefully in his sleep that very night. Beknownst to Maria, he had not just been an old man, he was an aswang, a shape-shifting, flesh-eating creature from Filipino folklore. With that final gruesome act, he had passed his curse onto her. The curse was now hers to bear. Feeling a profound and disturbing change within herself, Maria decided she could no longer stay abroad. She was overcome by a desperate longing for home for her husband and her children. She packed her bags and returned to the Philippines, her heart a confusing mix of excitement and a new, dark dread she couldn't understand. When Maria's boat docked, Ermin and the children were there waiting for her. Their reunion was joyous, filled with tears and embraces. But as Ermin held his wife, he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Maria looked different. Her eyes, once warm and loving, now held a cold, predatory glint. She seemed distant, her smile not quite reaching those unsettling eyes. He brushed it off as exhaustion from her long journey, happy to simply have her home. First few days were a strange adjustment. Maria was quiet, withdrawn. She would stare at her children with an intensity that made Ermin uncomfortable. The biggest change was her appetite. She barely touched the food she once loved, complaining that nothing satisfied her. At night, Ermin would wake to find her pacing the house, her shadow moving restlessly in the moonlight, her whispers too low to understand. One evening, Ermin came home late from his shift at the police station. He was tired and hungry, looking forward to a warm meal and the comfort of his family. As he approached the house, he noticed an eerie silence. Usually, he could hear the sounds of his children playing, but tonight, there was nothing. A knot of anxiety tightened in his stomach. The house was dark except for a single flickering light from the kitchen. He called out Maria's name, but there was no answer. He slowly pushed open the door and stepped inside. The air was thick with the smell of cooking, a rich, meaty aroma that was strangely unfamiliar. He walked towards the kitchen, his heart pounding with a growing sense of dread. And then he saw it, the scene that would forever be seared into his memory. Maria was standing over the stove, stirring a large, bubbling pot. She turned to face him, her face illuminated by the firelight. But it was not the face of the woman he loved. Her eyes were wild, her expression vacant, and a single dark red stain marred the corner of her lips. "Welcome home, my love," she said, her voice a chilling, hollow echo of its former warmth. "Dinner is ready." Ermin's gaze fell to the pot on the stove and then to the large wooden dining table. It It was set for a meal, but what lay on the platter made his blood run cold. His world shattered. The horrifying truth crashed down upon him, a wave of unbearable agony and rage. The unspeakable had happened. The meat she was cooking, it was their children. The hunger, the curse of the Aswang, had completely consumed her, driving her to commit the most monstrous act imaginable. Blinded by grief and fury, Ermin grabbed the first thing he could find, his bolo, the long, heavy blade he kept for protection. With a guttural scream of pure anguish, he lunged at Maria. He swung the bolo wildly, not aiming to kill, but to mark her, to scar her for the monster she had become. The blade slashed across her face, leaving a deep, gruesome gash from her forehead to her chin. Maria shrieked, a sound that was no longer human. It was the cry of a wounded beast. She clutched her bleeding face, the pain momentarily breaking through the curse's hold. Seeing her husband's heartbroken, hate-filled eyes, she seemed to realize the full extent of her horrific actions. With supernatural speed, she turned and fled, crashing through a window and disappearing into the blackness of the night. Vermin collapsed, his strength gone, surrounded by the ruins of his life. He had lost everything. His children were gone, and the woman he adored was transformed into a monster, doomed to roam the earth. From that day on, she was no longer known as Maria, the loving mother. She became Maria Labo, Labo meaning unclear or blurred in the local dialect, a name whispered in fear. Others say Labo came from the word tag Labo, which means to slash or to hack, a direct reference to the disfiguring wound her husband inflicted upon her. Legend says Maria Labo, forever marked by the deep scar on her face, wanders the remote provinces of the Philippines. She moves from town to town, forever seeking her next victim, her insatiable hunger never ceasing. She is said to appear as a beautiful, unassuming woman, her scar the only clue to the monster that lies within. She preys on the unsuspecting, her story serving as a terrifying cautionary tale whispered to children, to keep them indoors after dark. They say if you encounter a beautiful stranger with a mysterious scar, you must run, because you might be face to face with Maria Labo, the mother who became a monster, forever cursed to wander the night, a tragic figure in the darkest corner of Philippine folklore. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the shadows of urban legends, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales from the dark. Stay safe and see you next time.